Wait, here we go. We're recording. Let's go to assignment number 1, the metric system. So we're just going to go over a couple questions to make sure you're good. For example, let's practice number 9 right here. Number 9, we are going from meters into kilometers. Okay, so question 9, meters into kilometers. So you're going to go up to your staircase, or if you want to use a sideways staircase, that's fine. Meters is right here, and we want to go to kilometers. Okay, so we go 1, 2, 3 spots. Every time we move a spot, we have to move our decimal by multiplying by 10. Now there's 3 groups of 10, so what we could multiply in one step would be 3 zeros, 1,000. Okay, 3 tens is 1,000. 2 tens would be 100. Okay, so multiply by 10 for each step you move. So here we're multiplying by, sorry, I said multiplying, I'm so sorry. It's not, I'm going in the other direction. It's dividing by 10. Okay, so we're dividing by 10 for each step. That's a division sign. So that's just the same as dividing by 1,000. Okay, so 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. Now, when you're doing the question, you can take the number 1,245, 1245, and divide by 1,000, or divide by 10, divide by 10, and so you get 1.245. What's the other way of doing it? Instead of using a calculator. Yeah, so we take our decimal place, which is at the end of the number, and we move it. When we divide, we move it to the left 3 spots because we're dividing by 1,000. And so we get the exact same answer, 1.245 kilometers. Okay. Any questions? Now, if we look at question number 11, we're going meters to centimeters. So let's go back up and look at our diagram, going from meters to centimeters. Okay. Meters to centimeters, we move it 2 spaces to the right. So now we're all multiplying by 10. Multiply by 10, multiply by 10. That's the same as multiplying by what? 100, because there's 2 zeros, there's 2 tens. Any questions with that? Going back down then, we can multiply by 100, or what else can we do with the decimal? 2 spots, 1, 2, and what do we have to put in the empty spot? A 0. So that would be 1,650 centimeters. Okay. Any questions about that? Okay, so that's what we looked at yesterday. Are there any other questions on the next page that you'd like to go over? Any from this page? Are you sure? What about number 3? How would you do number 3? You guys didn't do number 3, did you? So number 3, you can do it 2 different ways, right? You have 35 tiles for the floor. Each tile is 1.2 centimeters thick. So your stack of tiles that you have is 0.5 meters high. Do you have enough tiles? Do you have 35 tiles? So you can either convert this into centimeters or convert this into meters. You got to have the same unit in order to do this work. Which one do you want to do? Benson, you choose. Centimeters, sounds good. So how do we convert meters into centimeters? We just did it. Well, look on your chart. There's meters, then I think it's decimeters, and then centimeters. Okay, so times it by 100. So this should be, move the decimal 2 places, 50 centimeters. So your pile is 50 centimeters high. Now you have 2 different things you could do. Okay, You could divide this by 1.2 centimeters to see how many tiles are in the pile. This will tell you the number of tiles, and you'll need at least 35. Okay? So if you did that, 50 divided by 1.2, 41.6. So how many tiles are there? 41 tiles. Okay, 41.6, 41 tiles for sure. Okay. Now that's one method. What you could also do is you could just take 35 tiles and times it by 1.2. So 35 times 1.2, this is going to tell you how many centimeters high your pile should be. 35 times 1.2, and you get 42 centimeters. So you need a pile that's 42 centimeters high. Oh, it's starting to lag. But your pile's 50 centimeters. Do you have enough tiles? Yeah. Right, you only need this high of a pile. The pile you have is higher. It's 8 centimeters higher. So you definitely have enough tiles. You have some left over. Okay. So 2 ways of doing that question. Good. Last one. You guys okay with the last one? Okay. There should be no decimal for number 4A. Are you 41.7 for this one? Yeah, to be honest with you, if I had known what the question was asking, I'd just say there's 41 tiles. Like, because there's not, like, 0.6 of a tile, what does that mean? It's kind of weird that's not a full tile, don't you think? So what do you think maybe is happening there? No, it's something wrong with the pile, right? Maybe you stacked it weird, maybe some dirt got in there, maybe there's a shim. I don't know, but it sounds like something's weird. Like there's something stuck in there to lift the tiles up a little bit. That's what I would suggest. Okay. When the teacher made this up, they probably should have done a better job of coming up with the correct answer. Okay. But I didn't do it, so that's why it's not perfect. Because you know I am. Wait, next one. For this one, you're measuring Christmas lights on the peak. So that's those two blue pieces, which are 5 and 5. You're also doing this peak, so 5 and 5. And you're also doing all the other edges, 1, 2, 3 edges. So 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 28 plus 28 plus 28. You're adding them all up. Okay, that's what you're doing. Okay, and then at the end, all you're doing is converting how many meters you have into centimeters by doing your conversion for that question. Okay, I'll give you 2 minutes. Finish these questions up. 2 minutes. Go. Write down the answers. Make sure you have them. Our notes for today. So today we're looking at the Imperial system on page 11, and our focus. Oh, I gotta close this down. Restart. Sorry, guys. Happens a lot with this program. Wait. So the Imperial system. That's what they use in America and the U.S. Our focus is going to be on length today. So we're focusing on length, not volume. Okay, not area, and not mass or weight, but length. So for the U.S. system, okay, the U.S. system, the base unit is the foot. Okay, the base unit is the foot. Then you have a yard, and then you have a mile. Write that down. Write that down. Yard, miles, page 12. When you get smaller than a foot, then you go into inches. Now, often, when you're measuring yourself, usually you say you're 5'11", or you're 6 feet 0 inches, or 5'9" inches, 5'5" inches. Okay, but when it really matters, I know guys that go for the draft, or even at our school right now, when they measure themselves, they say, "Oh, I'm 6.6 feet and 3.5 inches," because that 0.5 really matters. Now, we shouldn't really be at 0.5 because when you get smaller than an inch, you're going to be dealing with fractions. Okay? And the fraction's always out of 16. That's how we start. And all we're doing is counting lines. Once you get the fraction out of 16, if you have two even numbers, you can divide by 2, and then you might get eighths. If you divide by 2 again, you get fourths, quarters. Divide by 2 again, you might get halves. So we will have to reduce to lowest terms, but for us, we always start out of 16. Okay? Now, if you go into Mr. Webster's CNC lab, it's so accurate, you'll probably be able to do 64ths. Or 32s, or I've even seen some micrometers where it's out of 128s. So it's not abnormal to have 32s, 64s, and 128s, but you got to be having a specific measuring device. It's not something we are going to look at. Okay? So we can erase that. It's not something we are going to look at. Now, what's really important is reference. Reference help you judge how long things are. So for example, this coffee cup I'm holding up. Okay? The reference for an inch is the width of an adult thumb. Now, since you guys have small thumbs, you're probably going to use from your fingernail to your knuckle. Make sure it's not the sideways knuckle. Okay? From the fingernail to the knuckle. So if I was going to measure this cup, I would do this. 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches, 4. I'd say it's about 4.5, maybe 5 inches. I'd probably say 5 inches. That's how you use a referent, right? You know the measurement of it, and you use it to kind of measure with your eyes, right? So for an inch, it's your thumb, right? What would be a good reference for a foot? Your foot, right? You just said it, right? So you use your foot. So if I want to know how far is it from the board to the head, you know where Ben's vision. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That means international requirements. 6 feet away from the board. He's not going to go across it. Okay? You're good. No, I just need that. The other thing is, for a yard, it'd be a stride. Okay? So a stride is like 1 step. So if I want to measure this room, I would just start on one side and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How many yards is that? 10. How many meters? 10. Yeah, 10 meters. So meter and yard are pretty much the exact same. There's a little difference, but not a lot. Another way to measure a meter is this. Nose to your fingertip. Okay, so if you're measuring something up high, you can use your nose to your fingertip. So looking at the board, I could use that. I could even use a stride with the board, but that'll help you out. Okay. So reference are really important. The big focus on this unit is for you to be able to give an idea of a measurement. How tall is that filing cabinet over there? Have a look. What's your guess? Oh, okay. What could you use to help? Let's use Jenna. Jenna, stand up. Stand up. There we go. So it's not bigger than 4'11". It's a little bit shorter than 4'11". So what would you say? Yeah, I'd say 4'5", 4'4", 4'6". No, I think it's a little bit shorter than that. Okay. So there are wrong answers when you're using reference. If you're way off, you're way off. Okay. Any questions about what a referent is? Write down 1 stride for the yard. Okay. So for the yard, 1 stride. And even a meter. For rugby, because the game is down south where they use metric, it's bigger in Australia than New Zealand, the rugby field's measured in meters. So when I do measuring, I have to take really long strides because the meter's a little bit longer than the yard. Okay, any questions? So this are your conversion factors. When you're in science, they'll want you to use your conversion factor. And then you could do some math with that. For us, we're in workplace math. So this is my conversion factor. Hey Siri, convert 2,000 yards into miles. So is that a correct answer? Does that make sense? Well, how many yards are in a mile? 1760. That's what we see on our screen. I'm at 2,000, so that means I'm over a mile. So I know I did it correctly. I know Siri did it correctly. Okay. Siri, can you please tell Ben to be quiet? Oh, she doesn't understand. It's too complicated. Okay. Now, for us today, what we're going to do is we're going to use this. So this is the conversion factor in a simplified staircase, kind of like we did yesterday. From inches to feet, you divide by 12. Okay, so inches to feet, divide by 12. Feet to yards, you divide by 3. Yards to miles, you divide by 1760. Okay. Going the other direction then, instead of dividing, because we're going the other direction, you would multiply. So miles to yards, it's times 1760. Yards to feet, times 3. Feet to inches, times 12. Okay? Now, when you get good at this, you'll start memorizing these numbers. But today, when you're using them, feel free to look at this page. So one person was brilliant genius last class. They actually took a picture of this on their phone, so you didn't have to flip the pages. Just saying, smart kid, eh? What was the other thing I was going to say? So, a sales rep. If you come into this room and I say, hey, how much is it going to cost me to carpet this room? You should try and give me a rough estimate using a referent. Right? Oh, I want to paint the walls. How much paint do I need? A rough estimate. You should be able to give me using a referent. Okay? Shh, guys, verbal diarrhea, don't want to hear it. Okay? Any questions? Good. So our symbols are one quotation mark for inches, for feet, and 2 quotation marks for inches. So what you're going to see is 6 feet 3 inches written using the dashes. They're not going to write FT and IN. They're probably going to use the symbols. So you need to know and recognize what those symbols are, or at least that one's inches and one's feet, and then you can go look it up which one's which. Okay, so that one's a little bit tricky with this system with the dash marks. You guys used to the dash marks? You've seen them before? Some people will have, some people haven't. Okay, yards and miles are easy. It's always yards and miles. Okay, you guys ready for your measuring lesson? What if it's less than an inch? What do you do? If it's less than an inch, then all you do is you start with a fraction out of 16. You're trying to figure out what is the whole number in front. So if you have a whole number of inches, you write in that location. So this here will be your whole number. If it's smaller than an inch, then you have to count the lines to figure out how many sixteenths you have. Write this down. Write this down. All you're doing is counting lines. Everyone can do that. Everyone should be able to get half marks for this section. So now we're going to practice a little bit. Let me just erase. So that you see this fresh. Okay, so every single question, you're going to start by writing down a fraction out of 16. So let's work on the red. The first thing, when you see inches, you should see that there's no decimals. Write that down. No decimals. Okay. Make a line or a fraction out of 16. So write down something blank out of 16. Everyone should have this red writing down, a fraction out of 16. Please point the arrow to the proper line. It's one line before that really long one. Okay, one line before that long one. Okay. So, where is 0? 0 is right at the beginning. So we start here at 0, and all we do is count the number of lines that we have measured until we hit the arrow. So we count over, watching the screen, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And so your answer then is 7/16. You're just counting lines. Okay? So you can't say, "Oh, I don't know how to do this." You're just counting lines. Chase. I don't have 5/8, I have 7/16. Oh, we'll see in a second. Okay, I see what you're getting at. So then for the 16, okay, so that would be for the red. For the red, all we did is we counted 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. For the next one, it's a one line before 1 inch. Okay, so draw your arrow, have it set up, a fraction out of 16, and then you simply count. So watching the screen, I start at 0 again right here, and I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 lines, I've measured 15/16. 15 over 16. Okay. Next one. Now the next one's a little tricky. Okay. So you're pointing to this longer line right after 1 whole inch. So this line, I passed 1 whole inch. That's why I have to write 1 whole inch in front of the fraction. So that's my whole number. 1 whole inch, 1 whole number. And then, starting at that line, I can then count. So now I can count from this 1 inch line, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is 1 4/16. I pass 1 whole inch, and it's 4/16. I count 4. Is that a good answer? It's not bad. It's half marks. What do you notice about the 4 and the 16? What kind of numbers are those? They're both even. So when you have two even numbers, what can you divide by? 2. So you should write this twice because it's the proper way to show it. You divide the top number by 2 and the bottom number by 2. What you're not dividing by 2 is the 1 whole number in front. Okay? So the 1 stays as a 1. It's a whole inch. But on the top, if you don't know how to divide 4 by 2, use your calculator. 4 divided by 2, it gives me 2. And on the bottom, 16 divided by 2 gives me 8. Good. Am I done? No. And that's because I have 2 even numbers. So every time you have an even number, what do you need to do, Alex? By? Good. So I divide the top by 2 and divide the bottom by 2. And what's my answer? 1 and 1 over 4. Don't forget, the whole number must always be there. Okay? You can't disappear into Never Never Land. So the answer is 1 1/4 or 1 1/4, however you'd like to say that. Any questions? So these are the 3 hard examples. Now we have some examples for you to try. Okay, we kind of work through these together. So let's do this one first of all. Okay, do these two first of all. All right. Got to make sure, okay, that you have the proper line. Okay. So we're going to measure after 3 inches and after 4 inches. I'll give you some time. Go ahead. Okay. 3 whole inches means we have to write the 3 as the whole number. And so that, like I said to Chase, that's our 0 line. So we start at 0, we count over 1, 2, 3. So it's 3 and 3/16. Oh, should I reduce it? What kind of item? No, 3 is an odd number. So because the 3 on top is odd, I cannot divide by anything. Okay. What about the next question? How many whole inches? Benson? I've only passed 4 whole inches. So you have a 4 in front? Good. And you said 6 on top? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 5. I'll count again in case I'm wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so you're starting, remember you start counting at 0, that's a 0 line, Benson, and so you're going forward from 0, okay? Can I reduce that, lowest terms? Can you divide 5 by anything? No. So that's your final answer. Okay, let's do some more testers. Here's 2 more. I'll give you a hint. You can reduce them, okay? Ooh, I'm going to erase that 5. Pretend you didn't see that. Okay, go for it. Here's our last 2 for guided practice. Go ahead and do them. Okay, so 5 is my whole number of inches. And on top, I count from the 5 line 1, 2 spaces. So it's 2/16. Okay, both are even numbers. 2 is even, 16 is even. So what can I divide them by? 2. Always divide by 2. Some people know more tricks, but 2 will always work if you have 2 even numbers. And so you get 1/8, 5 and 1/8. How many people got that? Interesting? Good, really good. Okay, do the next one. Next one's out of 16. You will have to reduce it quite a couple times, okay? Give it a shot. Go. Okay, let's go over this one. How many whole inches? Malik. What's the whole number in front? 5. So you pass 5 whole inches. So then you can start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. So because they're both even, divide by 2, divide by 2. You get 5 and 6/8. They're still both even. So divide by 2, divide by 2. You get 5 and 3/4. Can I divide by 2 again? No. 3 is an odd number. You're done. Yes? Yeah, some people can see that you divide by 4. That's a common multiple between 12 and 16, but you don't need to do that. That's just being extra special, okay? Just look for 2 even numbers. Make sure you can do that. All right. Next page, you have your assignment. All we're going to do here is complete 2A. Okay, so complete 2A, use your own booklet. You'll see all the letters, put the answer up above the letter. Okay, put the answer up above the letter. For your answer key, I redid the answer key. 1F is incorrect. Maybe I'll just write that up there. All right. So number 1F, I believe it's 4 and 10/16, which works out to be 4 and 5/8. Let me just double check. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so number one, letter F is 4 5/8. Okay. Questions, comments, or concerns? Yes. Yeah, this is right here. This is it. Oh, sorry. Assignment two, letter. So that's assignment two, part A, right there. Question one in part A. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of worded backwards. Sorry, Julie. Hey. Yeah. Bathroom break. Go if you need to go to the bathroom.